evening. Hello, welcome to Varsity Sports live from the studios here in Sioux Falls. We will be joined later on by Jody Norstedt in West Fargo for all the North Dakota stuff going on tonight. Welcome in, Tom Nieman along with Jason Andera, and we're in the second week of high school football. Got the 9-man team started last week. Everybody else gets going tonight and tomorrow. Exactly, and we had our first live game on earlier, just before this show, where a rematch of AAA in North Dakota and Slogfest. I don't know what we decided out of that, but we got something decided. Minot beat West Fargo in our live game 6-0. Jody will have some highlights in the post-game stuff from that coming up in 20 minutes or so. What do you want to talk about first, Janny? We've got some storylines in South Dakota football. What do you want to talk about first? We decided to start the show off with some storylines that we're talking about. And this was the storylines coming into the night. And we're going to get these answered throughout the show. But here's some of the storylines. Start with South Dakota. Stevens, Rapid City Stevens. Are they for real? We thought maybe they would be a contender in the big schools in South Dakota. Well, that could be the story of the night. They were missing several players. Don't have all the details on what happened, but did not have their full team here. Did not have their starting quarterback for the first quarter. And boy, Sioux Falls Roosevelt took advantage of that. They got beat soundly by Roosevelt. So we'll see on Rapid City Stevens as the season goes along. 9-man football, shockers. What are you talking about here? Last week, Howard lost. Miller Highmore Herald lost. Some teams that everybody had ranked highly. What are you talking about in 9-man football? I'm talking about shockers in 9-man. We don't know what to make of the entire landscape in 9-man football. And when I say we, I mean me. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I had Howard as a contender, a dome contender. They started off the season now 0-2. And we know that Woolsey-Wessington is for real. Bonham played him really tough. We'll talk a little bit more about that one later in the night. Yeah, really good game in double overtime tonight between Bonham and Woolsey-Wessington. And then in the big schools in South Dakota, is Sioux Falls, Washington for real? Are they reloading? Are they rebuilding? They lost some really good players, Seth Benson defensively, Logan Utek, one of the great wide receivers. They always lose a lot of talent, but how are they going to beat? Yeah, exactly, and that's the big question throughout this season. If you ask Chad Statham, they're probably rebuilding. He thinks, we've got Tupac and we've got Jaden. He's going to play it down a little bit. But if you ask everybody else in the state, they're just reloading again because they took a lot of juniors and JV players and plugged them right into those holes, and they're off to a nice lead tonight. They're still in progress right now. Yeah, they're only in the third quarter at Howard Wood Field, leading 28-7. We'll get to those scores here in a minute. We're going to get to Jody Norstedt also in West Fargo with all the North Dakota games going on tonight and some of his storylines, Jandy, that Jody's going to be talking about in their big schools. As you see here, East versus West, that's pretty much how they split it in North Dakota when it comes down to playoff time and when you're in the rankings in the EDC and the WDA. That's how they go during the regular season. So some of those matchups tonight as well. Yeah, exactly. And unlike South Dakota and North Dakota, it's always interesting to see who has the power, East or West in 3A, and we'll get that answered tonight. All right, West Fargo goes down tonight, so that might answer a little bit of that. We'll talk to Jody about that. In 2A, Jamestown, smelling upset, nearly surprised Fargo Shanley in the opener last year, lost that game by a touchdown. It was a 1-point game tonight between those two teams, so we'll see how that one came out. Jody will wrap that one up. And then in 9-man, high expectation, this is Class A. Carrington, his top team, Jody had his team, Carrington number 1. They played Kindred tonight, so we'll see how that comes out as they had a good matchup right off the bat, too. Stay tuned for those answers. All right, those are the storylines. Let's get to the scoreboards tonight from South Dakota. And as we said, Sioux Falls, Washington, and Brandon Valley are in the third quarter. We're going to start with North Dakota, though, as Minot beat West Fargo in our live game tonight in West Fargo. And Jody has some highlights of that one coming up as the defending champions in the big schools in North Dakota go down tonight. Minot held them to 103 total yards in that game. Bismarck all over Fargo. Davies to get it going 48-19. Jody's got that game coming up as well. Also highlights from Bismarck Century. Had to go to overtime to beat West Fargo Cheyenne tonight 21-14. And Fargo South gets going with a win over Williston. Highlights with that one from Jody coming up shortly here on Varsity Sports Live. Here's the game we were talking about. Fargo Shanley got by Jamestown 27-26. Jody will talk about that one as well. Bismarck St. Mary's, the two-time defending champions in Class 2A. They open up with a win over Grafton tonight, 41-0. Other 2A scores, Central Cass, the Squirrels, win 50-8 tonight over Wahpeton, and Devils Lake 26-6 over Watford City. Class A scores in North Dakota tonight. You got Hillsboro Central Valley, the defending champions. They beat Park River Fortville Lankin 38-9. Carrington over Kindred. Jody will have some highlights of that one coming up as well. Velva and Harvey Wells County. Velva 38-0 in that one. We'll try to get a score coming up on the Killdeer game there. And in 9-man in North Dakota, a couple scores to touch on. Thompson and Hatton Northwood both opened up with wins last week. Thompson gets to 2-0 with a 52-18 win. Mayville Portland, a win over Finley Sharon Hope Page tonight, 22-8. So Mayville Portland is 2-0. Napoleon Gackle Streeter in 9-man, 40-30 tonight over Lemoore Litchfield Marion. Napoleon Gackle Streeter gets to 2-0, and New Salem Glen Ullin is off to a 2-0 start as well in 9-man in North Dakota. All right, Jandy.
Let's talk about South Dakota now.
Get to the South Dakota scores tonight now.
I'll have a little more to say about these.
All right, and this one, as we said, is in the third quarter. About 4 minutes left in the third quarter right now. Sioux Falls, Washington is up 28-14 as Brandon Valley has just tacked on another touchdown. We'll get some highlights back from Howard Wood as that one finishes up. Sioux Falls O'Gorman and Aberdeen Central were tied at 14-14 tonight early on in that game, and then the Knights blasted them 58-14, and we'll take a look at Canyon Bauer and the O'Gorman Knights coming up as well. The game you were out covering tonight, Jandy, Roosevelt over Rapid City Stevens 48-19.
Huge start for Roosevelt. We're going to check out highlights of that one and find out why Kim Nelson says they still played a little bit choppy.
A little sloppy, a little choppy.
We'll find out.
All right, Saturday in Rapid City is Sioux Falls Lincoln and Rapid City Central. Mitchell and Watertown will play on that new turf at Mitchell.
I'm going to go to that one
on Saturday as well. That should be good. Harrisburg opens up with a win over the defending champions Pierre.
Now, we don't have highlights of this one, so I'm going to talk a little bit. Both teams had quarterback questions going into this one. It ended up being Jack Tigan as the quarterback for Harrisburg. Yep. Jack Rayburn went out of that game early, did not come back, and Harrisburg still managed to put some points up. Pierre rotated a little Garrett Stout, little Jack Maher, didn't come up with as much offense as they were hoping.
Jack Tigan had 3 touchdown passes for Harrisburg. 2 of those went to Cale Murphy as the Tigers win on the road in Pierre. Brookings and Yankton. We'll have highlights of this one coming up as well. Yankton got out to a lead in this game. Brookings, though, comes back and knocks them off. Another good opener, as those two teams always play close early on in this season. Huron got out ahead 40-0 against Douglas tonight at Tiger Stadium. Blake Larson, a couple of fumble recoveries in the first half, scored a touchdown for Huron. Jet McGurr, Chipper Schillingstead, all those guys scored for the Tigers as they open up with a win.
Big win for them.
Belfouche and Sturgis will play on Saturday at 6 o'clock Mountain Time there. Dakota Valley and Dell Rapids kind of went back and forth all night, and Dakota Valley, the number 1 team, the runner-up in that class, in Class A, as they beat Dell Rapids 49-32 tonight. We'll have some highlights of that one coming up. Madison is the defending champion in Class A, and this one went to double overtime. Jandy and Madison won 20-14. It was 7-7 at the end of regulation. Madison gets a touchdown from Tyler Tappy to Jacob Unterbrunner in double overtime to win it.
2 touchdowns on the night for Unterbrunner, and Madison was a little sloppy throwing the ball, but they kept trying to throw the ball, and they got it done in the end. Doyle Brown made a huge tackle to save this win in double overtime. And watch out, Millbank is going to be a team we're talking about in the top 5 as this season matures. Their coach, Adolph Shepardson, first year in Millbank, is going to do a good job putting that team together.
All right, this was also a great game. West Central and T-Area. T-Area pulls it out 30-24. We'll have highlights of that one coming up. Sioux Falls Christian, the number 1 team in 11B. They roll over Mobridge. Pollock 39-0. We'll take a look at that one as well. 9AA, this one, Wolsey Wessington and Bonham. Bonham got out to a 22-8 lead at halftime. They were tied at 22 all at the end of regulation, and Wolsey Wessington wins it in double overtime.
Thriller. Those two might see each other again, I have a feeling, in 9AA. Probably the 2 most impressive teams coming out of the chute.
Who's the number 1 team you have in 9AA right now?
Gregory.
They're
2-0 as well.
And they will play Wolsey Wessington in the last game of the regular season, by the way.
I voted for Wolsey Wessington number 1, and will continue to do so until beat.
Especially after that win tonight, huh? Canastota Freeman, you talked about them a little bit over Howard tonight, 36-12. Austin Thew had a couple of touchdown runs for Canastota Freeman. And as we mentioned, Gregory did beat Parkston tonight 40-0. That's 26 wins in a row for Gregory. And again, they're the number 1 team in 9AA, and they will hook up. I don't know if they play Bonham in the regular season, but they do play Wolsey Wessington.
Yeah, they seem to. That's a really tough region. They all play each other, and 9AA, you're going to have to earn it this year. I mean, you always do, but there's a lot of good teams this year.
All right, as we saw in the North Dakota game tonight, the Minot West Fargo game, a lot of new faces.
Yeah.
We've kind of went through the last 2 years of really good juniors and seniors. Those classes have moved on, and we got a lot of new kids coming in that were on the JV teams last year. So it's going to be interesting as we get in to the highlights here.
Yeah.
Hear a lot of new names.
We're all going to get educated. We're going to help you get educated with some of these new names. And then there's some that we've heard of before.
Yeah.
And a couple of teams have quarterbacks back, including Roosevelt. He was only a part-time quarterback last year. He swapped a little bit with Carter Lohr. But Brady Dannenbring, the junior for Roosevelt, has really settled in as a leader for this Rough Rider team.
All right, let's take a look at this game. The early game tonight at Howard Wood Field in Sioux Falls. Beautiful night. Stevens all the way across the state to take on Roosevelt. And Brady Dannenbring to Mackie Muhammad for the first touchdown of the game.
He's suffered injuries, has not been a full-time player. He's now a senior. He had a really good first game. Cramped up a little bit, but got it done. But when they needed big plays, this guy right here, the sophomore, Tyler Feldkamp, is all over the place.
Big night for him. Dannenbring hooks up his second touchdown pass. Here's Brady Dannenbring, 6'5", and here's another connection to Feldkamp.
Just making people miss.
5 catches, 174 yards, and 2 touchdowns in the first half for Tyler Feldkamp. Colton Hartford had to start a quarterback tonight because Tegan Heckel was not in the ballgame to begin with. That's Bredger Nesbitt, who had a nice night for Rapid City Stevens, though.
He really did. Nesbitt made the big plays for them in a night where they were looking for some big playmakers.
Little defense as well out of the Rough Riders.
Devontae Murphy, that guy is a beast, and he blew it up all night. That's 1 sack to count for it.
Dannenbring again. He can go to all kinds of guys coming out of the backfield. I don't know if we have the Feldkamp punt return coming up here as well.
I shot that, and I did not get it, Tom. I got the tail end of it. I did not think he was going to the house, but yeah, he took 3 touchdowns in just over a quarter.
That is Jaden Bourne right there. It was 41-6 Roosevelt at halftime. Dannenbring, you see the numbers there, 11 of 18, 256, 4 touchdowns as he played basically the first half tonight. Roosevelt had a fumble recovery for a touchdown. Aaron Kusler came in and played some quarterback for Roosevelt as well, and 48-19 is the final.
But Feldkamp was the story here. 3 catches, 153 yards in the first quarter, and then, like you said, early in the second quarter, took one back on a punt return as well. We talked to Brady Dannenbring after the game, and he not only talked about the team win, he also talked about how Tyler Feldkamp blew it up.
It feels pretty good to start off this way. It's probably something that we needed coming into the season. It felt really good on offense, and our defense did really well. I don't know. That's something that he kind of does just by himself. I don't know. That's just his thing. Making dudes miss, making guys fall.
Making dudes miss and making guys fall. Get ready for a lot of that, South Dakota. Tyler Feldkamp, just a sophomore. He broke out in the second half of his freshman season, and we've got a lot more Tyler Feldkamp to watch in the future. This kid is electric.
All right, Roosevelt looks like they are going to be just fine this year. So 48-19 the final over Rapid City Stevens tonight. Brookings and Yankton. Let's take a look at this game in Yankton tonight on that brand new turf at Crane Youngworth Field. And Rex Reichen is a guy you've been paying a lot of attention to as well, Andy.
Yeah, I like Rex Reichen. He is a versatile receiver. He's quiet. He does it with his mouth shut and puts up big numbers. He cramped up a little bit later in this game, but gets it started in the right way.
Bucks get a 38-yard field goal there to start the scoring, and they would get the lead and hang on to the lead for most of the game before Brookings came back. Corbin Soler, this is just a sophomore, and he had a couple of interceptions in the first half. Yankton on the following play here, and they will make it 10-0, and again, they had the lead almost the entire football game until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, Brookings, give them credit. This is a team that's putting a lot of new faces out there, and they did not give up, even though they did throw a couple interceptions early. It could have been easy for them on the road to kind of shut down, but they fought through and had a really good second half.
It was Reichen with an interception, and then Corbin Soler, another pick for the Bucks. Again, that was his second interception of the first half. He also had a touchdown. And then Justin Devine gets Brookings on the board with a field goal there, but it was 16-3. Yankton had the lead at halftime. This is a Hail Mary right before the half, and Soler comes down with it. So 16-13, Yankton's got the lead at halftime.
They got to feel good when you get a play like that in your new home field. Things are going your way, Yankton, but watch out. Here come the Bobcats.
All right, second half here. Brookings comes back. Jay Wilbur scores on a long connection here. It's 16-10.
These are the plays early in the season, just these miscues I mean, your team can be playing great. You let one guy go to the house like that, changes everything.
And as you said, Reichen early on, a hot night out there. Little cramps in the lower body there, but of course he made a big impact. Botch snap here by Brookings, big mistake there, but they do come back. Yankton takes advantage of that though. First play of the fourth quarter here, Ethan Wilson to Mike Drotzman, and Brookings had a 23-10 lead. Jandy, we don't see the last two scores here. Justin Devine scored on a 45-yard touchdown to make it a 23-17 game. And then Brookings got fancy. They went on a 62-yard kind of razzle-dazzle play. Carter Item scored on a 62-yard run, and Brookings comes back.
How about that?
To beat Yankton 24-23.
I was going to go look at the scores from the last 3 years. These two teams have played overtime thrillers, multiple overtime thrillers, close games. This is another one for the storybooks. The Bobcats get the mild upset on the road.
All right, highlights are trickling in here. Let's go to Dell Rapids, Jandy. 11A in South Dakota. You got Dakota Valley taking on Dell Rapids. And Nate Rice is another guy you've been paying a lot of attention to this summer.
Yes.
Number 20.
Made the switch to quarterback, and he gets it done in a lot of different ways. And Dakota Valley didn't come out real strong, let's say, but they improved throughout this game.
So Rice with a keeper. Panthers in the lead 8-0. Dell Rapids, though, kept coming back on them. Eddie Price for the Warriors to tie it up at 8.
I love what Eddie Price brings, just the toughness and the strength. They don't have a lot of starters back themselves, and he really helps having a guy like that who's played varsity football for a couple years.
Second quarter here, that's Nate Rice again, 36 yards for the touchdown. And Dakota Valley out to a 15-8 lead. The Panthers had a blocked punt that led to another touchdown in the second quarter. They went up 22-8. But Logan Ellingson here, over the shoulder grab. This goes 60 yards, and Dell Rapids is within a touchdown, 22-16 at halftime.
That's a high school football play for you. Get out of the pocket, buy a little time, and just heave one up and hope it happens and get the crowd going your direction.
Dells kept coming back. Dakota Valley kept going ahead. Sam Chesterman, touchdown, 29-16. Dakota Valley in the lead. Dells comes right back. Nick Beaver to make it 29-24, but Chesterman again in the fourth quarter, 35-24, and Dakota Valley hangs on. Dell Rapids again, they just kept coming back, but Dakota Valley 49-32 tonight.
Yeah, the two guys for me that had to step up in this Dakota Valley offense are Sam Chesterman and Nate Rice. They really did end up leading in the third quarter and taking them on, so it ended up being a good game.
All right, Jandy, Sioux Falls Christian, number one team in Class 11B, opening up tonight against Mobridge Pollock.
Yeah, it was Dawson Mulder's night. It was actually Sioux Falls Christian's night. They got it going. Mobridge Pollock gets started with a little something their direction, but here's Dawson Mulder, the quarterback. He was in kind of a quarterback battle this year. He really showed we can do not only throwing the football, but just leading this team. And he comes in with a running touchdown to get things started, and he's not done yet. Just want to hand off to Parker Nelson, the guy who could easily rush for 2,000 yards this year, just super fast. And then Mulder with another keeper and another long touchdown. Mobridge Pollock just outmatched in this one. And this is 2 weeks in a row now, Tom, that Sioux Falls Christian has been on their home field, played a good team, and just decimated them with this offense. I think it's going to be a big year for the Chargers, the defending champs, and Dawson Mulder, the quarterback, is really one of the reasons that I think they're going to be a team to beat.
All right, along with Parker Nelson. One more score here on a heave from Mulder, and 39. What was the final on this one? 39-0 is Sioux Falls Christian.
And you're
off and running in 11B.
And there's Parker Nelson right there. This is the two guys you're going to have to watch all year is Dawson Mulder, Parker Nelson, Mitchell Goodberry, and the rest of the Sioux Falls Christian Chargers mow down the opponents 2 weeks in a row.
Name me one team in 11B that will challenge Sioux Falls Christian.
Well, I'll tell you what, Beersford's looked good the first couple of weeks, but Bridgewater Emory Ethan, in my mind, is the real contender as this season matures. I think they're the one that's going to go up because Winter had a huge game tonight again, but we saw what they did against Sioux Falls Christian. Not much.
All right. Bridgewater Emory Ethan, by the way, beat Woonsocket, Wessington Springs, Sanborn Central 41-0 tonight.
But they waited till the third quarter to get started.
But they
did. That's the team to watch.
Bridgewater Emory Ethan, Sioux Falls Christian.
Rematch in the Dome.
In 11B. All right, we got more highlights from South Dakota coming up. Aberdeen Central, Sioux Falls, O'Gorman. We'll check hopefully on Brandon Valley and Sioux Falls, Washington. West Central and T area was a really good back and forth game tonight in T, so we've got some highlights coming up on those games as well. We will get to North Dakota as well. It was Minot and West Fargo in the AAA title rematch tonight, live on Midco Sports Network. Jody Norstedt is in next with your North Dakota highlights of the night.
Varsity Sports Live on Midco Sports Network is presented by Avera Orthopedics, South Dakota State University, and Farmers Union Insurance.
Hello.
Welcome back to Varsity Sports Live here, our first foray on the season as we get into 11-man football tonight in North Dakota and South Dakota. Jody Norstedt is standing by in West Fargo, and I had the live game tonight, Jode, with Minot and West Fargo there. And I started to watch the beginning of that game, and I didn't recognize a lot of the names. As you guys started talking about with Greg Ankers, there's a lot of new faces on both of these teams this year.
Yeah, isn't that something? New faces, new quarterbacks, and it really led to somewhat of a sloppy game. So did the field conditions, guys. It poured around town for about, I don't know, all day almost until about the afternoon. And you could really tell with the field conditions. It was a little bit sloppy out there. Let's take a look at the highlights, though. The Class 3A state championship rematch, as I mentioned, a little bit sloppy. We had some muffed punts. That was somewhat the story of the game. Marcus Gully, he was laying the hammer, one of the big tacklers for this West Fargo team. Minot offense found a rhythm in the second quarter. First-year starting QB Jackson Gunville to Kyler Stenberg. Number 20 does the rest, picking up 21 yards, and then Gunville sneaks it in. That made it 6-0 with 8 minutes left in the second. The defensive line for Minot was dominant. Preston Olson gets the sack on Cooper Sully. Minot gets the ball back. Gunville finds Mason Seiss. Pretty good night for Seiss. Watch him run through a defender on this catch and run. Of course, Gunville taking over for Creighton Rudolph. And here comes Gunville showing off the gun, but it's intercepted. West Fargo's Carter Barancott tips it to himself for the pick, but the Packers just couldn't capitalize. Minot with the ball late in the half. Now Gunville to a wide open Jacob Shealy, so they're in business, but they give it right back to the Pack. The errant throw is intercepted by David Daniels. But everyone was in a giving mood. Michael Johnson on the next play has it stripped by Minot's Brett Irwin. Magicians recover and take a 6-0 lead into the break. West Fargo had its best drive to start the third quarter. Sully developed a connection with Barancott. The 6'4 sophomore reaches over the defender for the highlight reel catch, but again, no points on the drive. The Magi continue to run the clock down. Seiss with another good carry, but it was the defense that really did the work for Minot. Hunter Sidner with the sack. Boom! Blowing up Cooper Sully. Sully, rough start to his career, but it was really a rough night for both teams. Minot wins this one, a barn burner, 6-0. It's the first regular season loss for the Packers since, get this, September of 2016, and the first time the Packers have been shut out since August 30th of 2013, which happened to be against Minot too. Tough start for both teams. Minot will try to go 2-0 when it hosts Davies next week. West Fargo has a tough one at Bismarck coming up. Here's the winning quarterback for Minot, though, after the game.
Times that they had down to the 25 or 30-yard line, and our defense stepped up huge and got sacks or interceptions or you name it. That defense stepped up huge tonight. It shows that we're a lot tougher than maybe teams might think that we are, because teams might think that we lost a lot of guys, so we might not be very good this year. But it shows them that we're willing to match up against anyone, and we can beat anyone, we feel like.
How about this next matchup? Davies hosting Bismarck, my preseason #1 team. Let's see if they lived up to the hype. Davies is going to be a pretty good team this year, too. Division I player with Jacob Claybo on the roster, but Isaiah Olson running, making some money, 23 yards. He gets near the 13-yard line, and then a little bit later, Olson the other way for the touchdown. He filled in for Jalen Strecker last year, looked really good, and now he's going to be in takeover mode, I think. And then Bismarck with the defense getting it done. Dylan Seibel shutting down the run game. Boy, they didn't let Davies' offense do much of anything in this game. But Will Madler, it's his third year starting QB, throws this one up right on the money to Isaiah Olson. He might have had to backpedal a little bit, but Olson catches it. Those two are unstoppable tonight. And then how about Joe Johnner on the run here? Joe Johnner played his first year of varsity football like last year, I think was his first year of varsity football. Great basketball player too. Bismarck in front 14-0. Davies fighting back. Check out Jesse Forknell. This guy's committed to MSU Mankato. This guy is committed to NDSU. Jaden Claybo with the catch. Getting down there, getting dirty. And then later, Brett Vetter's going to haul in the touchdown pass from Forknell. Bismarck up just 14-6. But boy, the Demons really start to roll from there. Jared Hager's going to get a long touchdown run after the long celebration that we show from Davies. Here comes Hager. Look out, ref. Look out, Davies. He's flying to the end zone. Bismarck up 28-6, and the Demons roll in this one to victory. Let's take a look at the scoreboard. 48-19. Boy, that sets up a huge showdown against West Fargo next week for the Demons. Couple of numbers here. Will Madler threw for 199 yards and 2 touchdowns, and also had a rushing touchdown for Bismarck. Let's take a listen to the Demons after this one.
We got a really tough schedule, and I think the one thing is, it's the old adage about taking it one at a time, and this is just one step in the right direction, and I'll go back a year ago, we opened up real well and came out and fell on our face the next week. So, it's a young football team, but we'll definitely take it, and, we'll go to work and see if we can improve what we did tonight.
Yeah, I think we all worked hard, really hard. The offensive line really stepped up. There was a lot of question marks coming into there, going into the season, and those seniors that stepped up and that sophomore, they played great. So you got nothing else you can ask for as a quarterback.
Perhaps the game of the night. This one was a thriller. Century taking on West Fargo Cheyenne at the Community Bowl. This one was pretty darn wild. Cade Feeney, the quarterback now. He's going to pitch this one to Nathan Kraft. He finds the end zone. Century up 7-0, scoring on their opening drive. Cheyenne responds on its opening drive. Parker Sander whipping it to Tyler Terhark, ties it at 7 apiece. Look at Terhark flying away from the defense. Makes it 7-7, and that was the score after the first quarter. We keep rolling along. Century here. Cade Feeney plunging through, taking over for Jacob Olson. Feeney, an athletic QB. But this was after Cheyenne had a turnover on downs, 4th and 2 on their own 16-yard line. So Century up 14-7 at the half. Cade Feeney then intercepted by Caden Jastrom. Jastrom, watch him on the return. Boy, he was one of my impact players this year. That's a good reason why. And then Cheyenne caps it off. They end up getting in the end zone. Jastrom didn't find it, but Nathan Goldaddy can. 2-yard score, and all of a sudden things are tied up. Century's Cade Feeney going to go to the air again, and Keon Oates, holla if you want an interception, if you want to juggle it. He takes it out of the end zone, and Keon Oates down to about the 15. And how about that for a big play when Century was marching to score and take the lead. Then Austin Underhill misses a 42-yard field goal as time expires. That was his second missed field goal in the 4th quarter, so we go to overtime, tied at 14. Underhill, one of the best kickers in the state, by the way. Cade Feeney, 2-yard touchdown run in OT. Good, so Century goes in front, but Cheyenne gets a chance. So let's see what the Mustangs do on this play. It's 21-14 Century. Chance for the Mustangs to match it, but Carter Bailey knocks it away from Tyler Terhark. And how about that? Century wins a thriller in overtime, 21-14. Tanner Thorsness talking to our Midco SN crew after the game.
We had a lot of guys go down tonight, but we had a lot of those sophomore, freshmen, and juniors guys step up today. And that's what we need throughout the game. We need to continue building depth this season, because when it gets into that November season, you need that depth there.
Impressive win for Bismarck Century right off the bat. They get a little bit of revenge because, if you remember, it was a field goal miss at the end of the opener last year at Cheyenne that dealt them their opening loss. Continue with the theme of the night. Turnovers playing a big role. Fargo South playing inside the Fargo Dome because they're getting turf on their home field, but they're playing against Williston in this one. South forces a fumble. Dawson Weisenberger lays the boom. Fumble recovered by Brody Herrick. Bruins make the Coyotes pay for it. Carter Moreau plunges in, and the Bruins are up 7-0. That was it for the scoring in the first half. Ensuing kickoff, Williston gains some momentum. Jonathan Williams takes the kick, bounces to the outside. Watch him run. Holy smokes, Jonathan Williams. However, he can't get by Gabe Baravich, and the tackle by Baravich would loom large because on 2nd and goal from the 1, Williston drops the ball again. Pierce Johnson recovers, thwarting the Coyotes' threat. It was really all turnovers after that. A typical season opening game. It was not pretty. Wyatt Hanson's pass across the middle picked off by Denver Sheets. How about that for a name? Denver Sheets, that's a great name. He returns it into Bruin territory. However, the fumbles would continue. The snap goes over the QB's head. Weisenberger's Johnny on the spot again. The NDSU commit making up for some of those mistakes. The offense stalls, however, the defense gets South the ball back. Charles Whitlock his pass sails, and John Farr with the interception. South led 7-0 at halftime. They cruise to the 27-8 win. South has some really good athletes. Keep an eye out for what Tyler Kozel's doing with that program. They are at Mandan next. And what a game for Mandan tonight. The Braves beat Central 41-22. Let's move on. Opening night at the MDU Resources Community Bowl for Grand Forks Red River taking on the home team of Bismarck Legacy. First quarter, open season blunder. We've had a few of them. The snap goes through the back of the end zone. Grand Forks Red River leads 2-0 after the safety. 4th and long now for Red River. Parker Monet goes for the pass, but it is going to be picked off. Legacy's Jace Nordsfin. Legacy unable to capitalize on in the turnover, though. Second quarter, Parker Monet with the QB sneak. Finds his way into the end zone. Yep, they rule it a score. Grand Forks Red River up 9-0 at halftime. Third quarter, Legacy's Rhett Clements at quarterback. Grabs a high snap looking for his target, but then he just pulls it down. Why not? Runs it for the touchdown. Red River's lead cut to 9-6. 3 minutes left in the third now. Red River QB Parker Monet throwing a beautiful pass to Brady Dvorak. Riders up 16-6. Fourth quarter, out of nowhere, you're going to see Clements take off for his second score of the day. Goodbye, camera. Try to keep up. Legacy still down 3, though. Late in the fourth, the Sabres on a long fourth down, and they decide to go for the long-time field goal, but they come up a little bit short. Boy, how about that chance, though? Red River holds on for the 16-13 win. So how about that? A win for the Riders on opening night. It'll be a lot tougher next week against Bismarck Century. Meanwhile, Legacy will play at Cheyenne next week. Here's quarterback Parker Monet on the victory for the Riders.
Feels great. This team last year, we didn't win a game, so it feels great for a bunch of these guys, especially the seniors. They were juniors last year. We wanted to make sure we could get them a win this year. Yeah, we knew we were coming out here and going to face a tough opponent. It's what we expected the entire week. It's what our coaches preached to us, that these guys weren't going to lay down, and we were just able to pull it out.
Big win for the Riders, as he said. No wins last year. They get a big one tonight. Beautiful evening in Jamestown and a heck of a football game. The Blue Jays hosting the Deacons of Fargo. Shanley, they didn't have to wait long to get the scoring started. A pick six for Brandon Dahlman makes it 7-0 Blue Jays. The home crowd going crazy. The Deacons were my preseason number 1 in 2A. They didn't take long to respond. Caden Kuhneman back at quarterback. He was injured in week 2 or 3 last year against Watford City. Cade Busek played a lot. Kuhneman back in there, throws a touchdown to Haley Buckholz, 71 yards, and it's knotted at 7s. Get used to that combo. To the second quarter we go. Jamestown does it again. Another pick six. Are you kidding me? Tate Orr takes it to the house. Jamestown up 14-7 early in the second, but on the very next possession, it's Kuhneman to, I warned you, I said it, Buckholz to the house. The UND commit flying down the sideline, 66 yards. We're tied again, 14-all. Jamestown driving before the end of the half now. Tommy Falk is going to find his big tight end, Marcus Hochhalter, on third down to keep the drive alive. Hochhalter hauling it in. The big 3-4 rumbling his way down. Can't get past the tacklers. And with a minute before the half, Falk is going to find Jeremy Williams in triple coverage. Why not go throw one on triple coverage in the season opener? It always leads to touchdowns, right? Well, Jeremy Williams got one, so that's good. 20-14 Jamestown after the missed extra point, and that missed PAT would prove costly. Take a look at the scoreboard. The Deacons score on a QB sneak with under 4 minutes left to take a 1-point lead. As we take a look at the scoreboard, a 27-26 lead. The Jays had a Hail Mary come up just short late. Shanley avoids the opening night upset with a 27-26 win. Defending Class 2A state champs, St. Mary's, the team that beat Shanley in the state championship, taking on Grafton early in the first quarter. Drew Dosh tries to throw the first touchdown of the season, but check it out. It's going to be tipped and it's going to be picked. Salim El Saraf brings it all the way back to the 50. Got the home crowd roaring on that one. After getting the ball back, Joey Heinart tries to get something going for that Saints offense as he picks up about 25 yards on this run. Look at the cuts. Joey Heinart is going to be fun to watch this year, folks, in Class 2A. He might be one of the best players, best running backs in Class 2A. Dan Smirker likes to hear that. Later, Drew Dosh hands it off to Ben Schmidt, who bulldozes his way into the end zone for the first touchdown, but they missed the extra point. St. Mary's 6-0. To the second quarter, Grafton's Dalton Albrecht, the quarterback, gets met quickly in the backfield, forcing a weird throw that ends up getting intercepted by Mark Horner, brought all the way back for the score. St. Mary's is rolling up 2 touchdowns to none. And then with only 1 minute left in the first half, Dosh is going to connect with Jackson Wiseman. Wiseman, check this out. He's going to spin off a tackler, and he finds the end zone. Boy, kind of like a pinball machine. 21-0, St. Mary's in front. Take a look at the scoreboard. St. Mary's makes a statement on opening night with a 41-0 win. Let's move on. Carrington playing at Kindred, a big Class 8 till. Carrington was my preseason number 1. First quarter, Kindred QB Michael Hall takes a shot downfield, but going to be picked off by Seth Nelson. That pass was up in the air a while. Nelson comes down with it. Second quarter offense was really hard to come by in the first half. The Cardinals strike first here as Nelson finds Peyton Smith in stride for a 58-yard touchdown. Boy, that was a perfect pass. 6-0 Cardinals, third quarter now. On 3rd and 18, Nelson again, he's going to dump the screen pass to Drew Page, who cuts all the way across the field, makes a great move along the sidelines to stay in bounds, and takes it to the house. 14-0 Carrington. Kindred really trying to get something going on offense, but Hall is going to be sacked by Colton Busness here coming up to force another Vikings punt. Kind of a nightmare of a start for Kindred, but for Kindred, Carrington's no slouch though. Take a look at the scoreboard. The Cardinals going to win this one 20-0. They play Harvey Wells County next. That should be a good showdown. How about the defending champs in Class A? Hillsboro Central Valley taking on Park River Fordville Lincoln in a good tilt. These two programs have been absolute juggernauts over the last few years. Oscar Benson, he's the guy filling in for Grant Skager these days, and he's the guy that's going to be carrying a lot of defenders around. That was the first of many great runs for Benson on the night. Sets up a touchdown here for Mark Hastings, 6-0 Burrows after the missed PAT. More from Mr. Benson. This time he blazes down the far sideline and nearly dives in for the score. Mark him at the goal line just short. This time Benson is able to cap off the drive though himself on the short dive play. HCV up 13-0. Second quarter now, Burrows still dominating. This time it's the pass game. Micah Gallagher in at quarterback. Goes deep for Carson Hennigsgard. Standout in basketball, pretty darn good at football too. A few plays later, Gallagher calls his own number, punches it in for the 6th. And Hillsboro Central Valley leads 19-0. Oscar Benson, though, dominant on both sides of the ball. He goes up and makes a great catch to pick off Adam Zavalny's pass. Zavalny, I have high expectations for Zavalny this season, one of the best players in Class A as well, the quarterback for Park River Fordville Lincoln, but Benson shutting him down there. Let's take a look at the final scoreboard, 39-8. Hillsboro Central Valley over Park River Fordville Lincoln is the final. Oscar Benson with 2 rushing TDs there at Northern Cass next. Guys, and now let's take a look at listen to Scott Olson after the win.
Yeah, we were waiting for this since we finished last year at the Dome, and a new story here. A bunch of new guys got to play. Played some good football today. It's early stuff, early season, missed tackles, penalties. That stuff happens early in the year, but overall we played hard.
Plenty of statements made tonight, guys, on opening night. Hillsboro Central Valley saying, remember us? We're still good. We're still pretty darn good. Oscar Benson, they really laid a thumping on Park River Fordville Lincoln. Carrington with a big statement winning at Kindred tonight. And then you look at 3A, guys. Century squeaking it out against Sheyenne. I thought that would be close. Big win for Century, big win for Minot, and big win for Bismarck.
We talked about that, Jody, going into the night that Cheyenne-Century game might be the biggest one of the night. It turned out to be that way.
Yeah, yep, exactly. Coming down to overtime, nothing more you can ask for than on opening night to have one of those fantastic games.
And you were almost right on Jamestown. Almost had them.
Almost, yeah. I said that they would keep it close, and Shanley pulls it off, escapes with the win. It comes out, you got to make those extra points. And on opening night, guys, as we saw, games can be sloppy. All these guys, some guys getting thrust into roles that they've never played before. It led to some pretty interesting outcomes.
All right, great work. Thanks a lot. Jody Norstedt in West Fargo. When we come back on Varsity Sports Live, we will have some highlights from Sioux Falls, O'Gorman, Sioux Falls, Washington, and a really good game between West Central and T area, and some post-game coverage coming up next.
Varsity Sports Live on Midco Sports Network is presented by Avera Orthopedics, South Dakota State University, and Farmers Union Insurance.
Welcome back to Varsity Sports Live. Let's get to some more Sioux Falls highlights tonight. Aberdeen Central on the road taking on Sioux Falls O'Gorman, Jandy. We saw O'Gorman at the 7-on-7 Riggs Combine deal this summer, and they weren't quite sure what they were going to do at quarterback, but Zach Norton right here with a touchdown pass to Tate Wishart to get O'Gorman on the board 7-0.
Yeah, they decided to go with Norton, who hasn't played quarterback really in a year or so, but he's a junior who's a great athlete, ended up being the quarterback most of the night.
This is Austin Huff to Jackson Rolfs for Aberdeen Central, ties it up promptly at 7-7, and then O'Gorman would fumble, and Jared Hilzendegger will get a scoop and score for Aberdeen Central, and the Eagles are ahead 14-7.
This is a huge shock that they came out not only and got a touchdown early, but got 2 touchdowns and were tied with O'Gorman early in this game. Huge momentum boost for a team that needed a jolt of confidence.
So the Golden Eagles get the lead, but then Tegan Schlimgen, a sophomore now at quarterback for O'Gorman, goes to the man named Canyon Bauer.
So Schlimgen was the thrower of the night, and then you also had Zach Norton, who played quarterback some too, so they're still trying to figure things out at quarterback.
They brought in Sam Stukel as well. They played 3 quarterbacks tonight, and again, this game was tied at 14. Aberdeen Central had that early lead, 14-7, but then O'Gorman takes off. Canyon Bauer had a catch to go up 21-14. He had a touchdown run to go up 27-14. It was 34-14 at halftime. Tate Wishart with a couple of touchdown runs as well for O'Gorman, and the Knights get all over Aberdeen Central 58-14. All right, West Central and T area in 11A, and this was a really good game that went back and forth. We pick it up 14-9 at halftime, and a T fumble. That's Mitch Edberg on a touchdown return to put West Central ahead 21-9.
This is something they desperately needed too, because their offensive flow was not going well, but West Central stayed in the game with good defense and a big defensive score. T came back, but it was 21-7 at one point in this one.
It was. West Central, though, coughed it up a couple of times. Luke Elkins scored there, and then after another West Central fumble, Carter Slykehouse, a 16-yard touchdown there, 111 yards on the ground tonight for Slykehouse. T goes in the lead 23-21. West Central took a 24-23 lead. Wyatt Van Tol scored a touchdown with 2 minutes left to put T in the lead, and then a late interception here for the Titans, and they come back and they beat West Central 30-24 to get going in 11A.
But another big question that was answered, Carter Slykehouse, he came out, ran over 100 yards. He's doing just fine after a pretty gruesome leg injury this summer. But that's 4 wins in a row now that T has had over West Central. And going back to last season, they'd lost 5 in a row and kind of broke that losing streak, if you will, with an opening night win over West Central.
All right, and as we said, Elkins a couple of touchdowns there. Washington and Brandon Valley are still going at Howard Wood Field. They're just getting into the fourth quarter there. It's 28-14. Washington leading Brandon Valley. Johansson has 265 yards passing for Sioux Falls, Washington. Thomas Skolton, 207 yards and a couple of touchdowns for Brandon Valley, but it's 28-14 Washington right now.
Yeah, and in the earlier game was Roosevelt and Stevens. Roosevelt was all over Stevens, but head coach Kim Nelson still not so sure that they played a great game.
You know, Tyler Feldkamp made some huge plays and scored, big scoring plays and, big plays. He's a big play guy, but it's hard to evaluate your team when you have plays like that. We wanted to maybe put some drives together, and third quarter I thought we put a nice drive together, kind of mostly on the ground, and then we fumbled the football, So I thought we were kind of sloppy. We didn't turn the ball over really that badly, at least with our first group, but we weren't really clicking either. Our snaps were kind of floating sometimes, and that messed up the timing in the backfield, and we just have a lot of little things to tighten up.
All right, 48-19 the final in that one, Roosevelt over Rapid City Stevens tonight. Let's go back to West Fargo. Jody Norstedt, a little more post-game to wrap it up there tonight. Jody?
Yeah, guys, obviously the headline from tonight was Bismarck Century winning in overtime against West Fargo Cheyenne. And I think both these teams are going to be state title contenders when it's all said and done. A few missed field goals late for Century that could have won the game in regulation. Cade Feeney ends up getting it done with a plunge late in the game, or in overtime on that first possession. Here's Ron Wingenbach, what he had to say, kind of the good and the bad of tonight's game against Cheyenne.
A lot of good and bad. I thought some of our younger kids had to really step up the second half and kind of fill in some spots when we had some starters go down. Anytime you turn the ball over 5 times, that's not good. And you know, we preach ball security throughout the preseason, and then for that to happen, we just got to go back and clean it up a lot.
Did Ron Wingenbach just mention turnovers? Because there were turnovers in literally every game was just completely littered with them. Another one was the Minot-West Fargo game. Of course, Minot, hey, getting maybe a little bit of revenge. I don't know if you'd really characterize it as revenge when they lost in the state championship game last year to this West Fargo team. But Minot comes out, wins 6-0, sloppy conditions, a lot of turnovers. But here's what Barry Holman had to say after his team's victory.
We had opportunities early that you know, we got to learn from. We had too many penalties and turnovers and still had plenty of chances to score early. And so we like that. We like that we had a little offensive mojo. And then defense just hung in there and battled, and we showed some grit. I think some wide-eyed kids at least left tonight feeling like we can compete. And we got better tonight, and we're happy with the win. But mostly we got better, and we know where we're at, and next week we work harder.
Some pretty just honest reaction from Barry Holman as his team picks up the 6-0 victory. In Class 2A, it's going to be interesting to see who the top team is. Shanley had the 27-26 win over Jamestown. We knew both those teams would be good. St. Mary's dominant against Grafton. Devils Lake won 26-6 to Wofford City. Another game, Central Cass 50-8 over Wahpeton on the road. Brad Anderson was at that game for 103.9 The Truck. Here's Brad's recap.
5 touchdowns in the second quarter. Really the turning point of the game came in a block punt. Wahpeton went back to punt. Actually, their punt hit their up man and was picked up by one of the Squirrels. Nick German returned it in for a touchdown. About 3.5 minutes to go in the second quarter, and then they scored 2 more times after that, including a touchdown on the final play of the half. They led 36-8 at the half, and then added a couple of scores in the third quarter, and really looked impressive. They really took a lot of things away from Wahpeton's offense. Pursued, tackled well, forced 3 turnovers, 3 fumbles, and really a good, complete performance.
And you guys, we mentioned, you know, how's 9-man going to play out? Who's going to still be dominant? Thompson, 52-18 tonight over Hatton Northwood. New Salem Glen Ullin looking like they're on fire right now. 62 points tonight against Mount Regent, New England, the Wildfire. So, I don't know. Those 2 teams are really the front runners for me in 9-man right now.
A lot of scoring.
Thanks,
a lot
Jody.
of scoring. That's what 9-man's all about, right?
That's right.
Great work tonight, Jody.
Thanks.
Appreciate it, buddy,
You
in
guys do.
North Dakota. When we come back, we will get to some Brandon Valley, Sioux Falls, Washington highlights, and wrap it up. Take a look ahead to some college football coming up live on Midco Sports Network. Welcome back to Varsity Sports Live. Brandon Valley and Sioux Falls, Washington. The late game out at Howard Wood Field in Sioux Falls tonight. Jandy and Tupac Capella had a slow start. He had 3 yards on his first 5 carries, but he gets into the end zone here.
He had a nice.
To put Washington ahead 7-0. He did get going.
Longest run of the night. Definitely the plan for Chad Garrett was to stack him up, and Jaden Johansson picked up the slack.
Johansson to Jacob Smith there for a touchdown. 13-0. Washington in the lead at halftime. Third quarter here, Johansson to Gabe Pearson. Playing his first varsity football game. He had 5 catches and a touchdown grab tonight. 21-0. Washington in the lead. Brandon Valley got a nice night from Thomas Skolton, 207 yards, 2 touchdown throws for Skolton. 21-7 here after that one. Johansson will come back though and hook up with Tupac Capella for another score. 265 yards, 3 touchdowns for Johansson. And Washington beats Brandon Valley 28-14.
Don't worry, Brandon Valley is going to be back. They are a young team, junior quarterback, a lot of big new receivers. This is a team that's going to stick around and be in the race all season long. Kind of what I expected in this game.
Yeah, both of those teams took some big hits. Braden Peterson, Cade Trevere, all-time grades gone from Brandon Valley. Seth Benson, Logan Utek, those guys at Washington. But Warriors get the win 28-14. We've got the President's Bowl coming up a week from Saturday. A couple of games tomorrow, Watertown and Mitchell. Sioux Falls, Lincoln, and Rapid City Central. But next Saturday on September 1st, the President's Bowl, We will have that live on Midco Sports
And
Network.
this year, Brandon Valley in the President's Bowl. They're taking on Lincoln and Roosevelt and Washington. 2 excellent games.
All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you next Friday night here on Varsity Sports Live. Thanks to Jody Norstedt in West Fargo. For Jamie, I'm Tom. See you next week. Thanks.